Good day, everyone. Good day, Dr. Vita. We are the Group 1. My name is Jufana Barani. Together with my group mates, Agwam Afnan, Aginid Venus, Amud Amera, Arimpo Aina, Bakayini Haya, Kanyuneo Ria Rachel, and the Guhi Kanet, we are going to discuss to you the curriculum essentials, which is part of the Module 1. So this Module 1 is all about the school curricula and the teacher. It describes the school curriculum in terms of its definition, nature, and scope. It provides the necessary concepts and activities that a teacher can refer to as to prepare as curriculum designer. No curriculum should stop at the planning or designing phase. It has to be implemented.
Curriculum essentials. We have the teacher and the school curriculum. This identifies the different types of curricula that exist in the teacher's classroom and school. It describes the important roles of the teacher as a curricularist who engages in the different facets of curriculum development and educational level. The curricula in school. This is the educational levels in our current Philippine education system. First, we have the basic education. This is the levels that includes kindergarten, grade 1 to grade 6 for the elementary, and for the secondary, we have grade 7 to grade 10 for the junior high school, and grade 11 and 12 for the senior high school. These new basic education levels are provided in the K-12 Enhanced Curriculum of 2013 of the Department of Education. Second, we have the technical vocational education. This is post-secondary technical vocational educational and training taken care of the TESDA. The TESDA that we all know as the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority. For the both track and senior high school of DepEd and TESDA work in close coordination. Third, we have the higher education. This includes the baccalaureate or bachelor degrees of graduate degrees, the master's or doctorates that are under the regulation of Commission on Higher Education, or we all known as the CHED. We also have the types of curricula simultaneously operating in schools. First, we have the recommended curriculum, wherein the recommendations from the Department of Education for the basic education, CHED for the higher education, and TESDA for the vocational education come in the form of memoranda or policies, standards, and guidelines. And also the other professional organization or international bodies like the UNESCO also recommend curricula in schools. Second, we have the written curriculum. They come in the form, of course, of study, syllabus, modules, books, or instructional guides, among others. In particular, the K-12 for the Philippine Basic Education is the most written curriculum. Third, we have the taught curriculum, whereas the implemented curriculum depends on the skill of the teacher to facilitate learning with the aid of instructional materials and facilities. This will depend largely on the teaching style of the teacher and the learning style of the learners. Fourth, we have the supported curriculum. This is described as support materials that the teacher needs to make learning and teaching meaningful. Fifth, we have the assessed curriculum. It can either be assessment for learning, assessment as learning, or assessment of learning. Sixth, we have the learned curriculum, wherein if a student change behavior, one has learned that can be indicated in the cognitive or the affective and psychomotor outcomes. Lastly, we have the hidden or the implicit curriculum, this is the type of curriculum that is not deliberately planned, but has a great impact on the behavior of the learner.
And next, we have the teacher as a curricularist. So according to the study conducted by Sandra Heiss 1991, the most influential curricularists in America include John Dewey, Ralph Tyler, Hilda Taba, and Franklin Bobbitt. So a curricularist is a person who is involved in curriculum, knowing writing, planning, implementing, evaluating, innovating, motivating, and initiating. So there are 7 types of teacher as a curricularist. So first, this is knows the curriculum. So it calls knower. Second, writes the curriculum or the writer. Third, plans the curriculum, which is the planner. Fourth, initiates the curriculum, initiator. Fifth, innovates the curriculum, innovator. And sixth, we have implements, the curriculum implementer. And seventh, evaluates the curriculum, which is the evaluator. So next is the teacher as a knower of curriculum. So this provides a wider perspective for the teachers about the curriculum in terms of curriculum approach, curriculum development process, some curriculum models, and the foundation upon which the curriculum is anchored. So the school curriculum, we have here the definition about its nature and scope. So first, we have here, according to Tanner 1980, so number 1, curriculum is planned and guided set of learning, experiences, and intended outcomes formulated through the systematic reconstruction of knowing and experience under the auspices of the school for the learner's continuous and willful growth in personal or social competence. So second, according to Pratt 1980, so the curriculum is a written document that systematically describes goals, planned, objectives, content, learning, activities, evaluation, procedures, and etc. So third, we have Scobert 1987. This is the curriculum is made up of the contents of the subject, concepts and tasks to be acquired, planned activities, the desired learning outcomes and experiences, product of culture and the agenda to reform the society. So fourth, according to Haas 1987, curriculum includes all the experiences that individual learner have in program of education whose purposes is to achieve broad goals and related specific objectives, which is planned in terms of framework of theory and research or past and present professional practice. So fifth, we have here curriculum is program of activities by teachers and pupils designed so that the pupils will attain so far as possible certain educational and other schooling ends or objectives. So this is according to Granting 1987. So sixth, we have here Godlan and Su 1992. Curriculum is a plan and consists of learning opportunities for a specific time frame and place. So tool that aims to bring about changes in students as a result of planned activities and includes all learning experiences received by students with the guidance of the school. Seventh, we have here according to Brownback 1982. So we have here curriculum provides the answers to 3 questions. What knowledge, skill, and values are most worthwhile? Second, we have why are they most worthwhile rather? And for the third, how should they be acquired with? So next is we have here some points of view of other curricularists. So we have 2 types here, the traditional and the progressive. So first, traditional, this defines the curriculum as a field of study. It is highly academic and concerned with broad historical, philosophical, psychological, and social issues. It is mostly written as a syllabus, course of study, books, and references where knowledge is found but is used as a means to accomplish intended goals. And second, the progressive we have here is the total learning experience of the individual.
And now, let's have the curriculum from traditional point of view. Robert M. Hutchins views curriculum as a permanent studies where rules of grammar, reading, rhetoric logic, and mathematics for basic education are emphasized in college. Arthur Pfister, as an essentialist, believes that the mission of the school should be intellectual training. Hence, curriculum should focus on the fundamental disciplines of grammar, literature, and writing that should include mathematics, science, history, and foreign language. Joseph Schwab thinks that the sole source of curriculum is a discipline, academic disciplines or subject areas. And lastly, Philip Phoenix assets students, the curriculum should consist entirely of knowledge which comes from the various disciplines. And now, let's have the curriculum from progressive point of view. John Dewey believed that the education is experiencing and reflecting thinking is a means that unifies curricular elements that are tested by application. Hollis Caswell and Kent Campbell view curriculum as an all experiences children have under the guidance of teachers. Nathaniel Smith, William Stanley, and Harlan Shore define curriculum as a sequence of potential experiences set up in schools for purpose of disciplining children and youth in a group of ways of thinking and acting. And lastly, Colin Marsh and George Willis view curriculum as all the experiences in the classroom which are planned and enacted by the teacher and also learned by the students. And now let's have the approaches to the school curriculum. There are three ways of approaching a curriculum. First, curriculum is a content of or body of knowledge. It is the topic outline, subject matter, or concepts to be included in syllables or books. Number two, curriculum is a process. It is the interaction among the teacher, students, and content in which curriculum happens in the classroom as a questions asked by the teacher and the learning activities engaged in by the students. And lastly, the curriculum as a product. It is what the students desire to achieve as a learning outcomes.
Four ways of presenting the content in the curriculum. First, we have the topical approach, which is based on knowledge and experiences. Second, we have the concept approach, with fewer topics and clusters around major and sub-concepts and their interaction with relatedness emphasized. Third, we have the thematic approach. This is the combination of concepts that develop conceptual structures. Fourth and last, we have the modular approach, which leads to complete units of instructions. And we also have the criteria and selection of content. First, we have the significance, which means content should contribute to ideas, concepts, principles, and generalizations that should attain the overall purpose of the curriculum. And significance also means the content becomes the means of developing cognitive, affective, or psychomotor skills of the learner. And the content also addresses the cultural context of the learners. Second criteria, we have the validity rather, which is the authenticity of subject matter is checked and verified regularly. And third criteria, we have the utility. The usefulness of the content in the curriculum is relative to the learners who are going to use it. Fourth criteria, we have the learnability, which is the complexity of the content should be within the range of experiences of the learners, which is based on the psychological principles of learning. Fifth criteria, we have the feasibility, which is the subject content is learned within the time allowed, resources available, expertise of the teachers, and nature of the learners. And six, we have the interest, which is the contents are meaningful to the learners for them to learn better. And we also have the guide in the selection of the content of the curriculum. So first, it should be commonly used in the daily life. Second, it should be appropriate to the maturity levels and ability of the learners. Third, valuable in meeting the needs and competencies of the future career. Fourth, it should be related to other subject fields or discipline for complementation and integration. And fifth, it should be important in the transfer of learning to other disciplines. And next, we have the fundamental principles for curriculum contents proposed by Palma in 1952. So, the acronym of this is BASICS. B stands for balance, which is the content should be fairly distributed in deep and breadth. A stands for articulation. This is the content complexity progress with the educational levels vertically or horizontally across the same discipline. Smooth connection or bridging should be provided. And S stands for sequence. It is the order or logical of all the contents, topics, learning experiences comprising the curriculum.
Moving on to the guiding principles when curriculum is approached as a process. First, in the form of teaching methods or strategies are means to achieve the end. Second, there is no single best process or method since its effectiveness depends on the desired learning outcomes, the learners, support materials, and the teacher. Third, should stimulate the learner's desire to develop the cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domains. Fourth is in the choice of methods. Learning and teaching style should be considered. Fifth is every method or process should result to learning outcomes which can be desired as cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. Sixth is flexibility in the use of the process or methods should be considered that always result to learning outcomes. Last is both teaching and learning are the two important process in the implementation of the curriculum. So curriculum development, processes, and models. Curriculum development is a dynamic process involving many different people and procedures. Development connotes changes which is systematic. So there are four phases of curriculum models. First is curriculum planning. Curriculum planning considers the school mission, vision, and goals that includes the philosophy or strong educational belief of the school are eventually translated to classroom desired learning outcomes for the learners. Second is the curriculum designing. It is the way curriculum is conceptualized to include the selection and organization of content, learning activities or experiences, and assessment procedure and tools to measure the achieved learning outcomes. Third is the curriculum implementing. It is putting into action the plans which is based on the curriculum design in the classroom setting or the learning environment that involves the activities that transpire in every teacher's classroom where learning becomes an active process. Fourth is curriculum evaluating. It determines the extent to which the desired outcomes have been achieved. So, the curriculum development process, there are three. First is the Ralph-Tyler model or Tyler's rationale, the four basic principles. It is the curriculum development model that emphasizes the planning phase. Second is the Hilda Taba, the grassroots approach. It is the curriculum development model begins from the bottom or teachers rather than the top or the administrators. Third is the Gallen-Saylor and William Alexander model. The curriculum is consisting of 4 steps. Curriculum is a plan for providing sets of learning opportunities to achieve broad education and goals and related specific objectives for an identifiable population served by a single school center. So the 4 fundamental principles of Ralph Tyler model which are illustrated as answers to the following question. First is, what education purposes should schools seek to attain? Second, what educational experiences can be provided that is likely to attain these purposes? Third is, how can these educational experiences can be effectively organized? Lastly, how can we determine whether these purposes are being attained or not? So the Tyler model shows that in curriculum development, the following consideration should be made. First, purposes of the school, the educational experiences related to purposes, the organization of the experiences, lastly, the evaluation of the experiences.
6 major steps of the Hilda model. First is diagnostic
diagnosis of the learner's needs and expectations of the larger society. Second is the formulation of learning objectives. Third would be the selection of learning contents. Fourth is the organization of learning contents. Fifth is the selection of learning experiences. And the sixth would be the determination of what to evaluate and the means of doing it. 4 steps of curriculum development as viewed in the Gallen-Saylor and William Alexander curriculum model. First would be the goals, objectives, and domains. The second would be the curriculum designing, and the third would be the curriculum implementation, and the fourth would be the curriculum evaluation. Foundations of curriculum. Philosophical foundation. Educators, teachers, educational planners, and policymakers must have a philosophy or strong belief about education in schooling and the kind of curriculum in the teacher's classroom or learning environment. The second would be the historical foundations, chronological development along a timeline. The third would be the psychological foundations, provide a basis to understand the teaching and learning process and unify the elements of the learning process. Philosophies in education. Perennialism. Perennialism's aim is to educate the rational person and to cultivate intellect. The role of perennialism is for the teachers to assist students to think with reason or critically. The focus would be the classical subjects, literary analysis, and curriculum is enduring. Trends is the use of great books and liberal arts. The second would be essentialism. Its aim is to promote intellectual growth of learners to become competent. Its role is for the teacher. Teachers are sole authorities in the subject area. Its focus is essential skills of the 3 R's. The responsibility, resilience, and reasoning, and the essential subjects. Friends would be the back to basics, excellence in education, and cultural literacy. Number 3 is progressivism. Its aim is to promote democratic social living. The role would be the teachers. Teachers would lead for growth and development of learners. The focus is interdisciplinary subjects, learner-centered, and outcome-based. Trends would be equal opportunities for all, conceptualized curriculum, humanistic education. And the fourth is reconstructionism. Its aim is to improve and reconstruct society and education for change. Its role is for the teacher to act as an agent of change and reforms. Its focus is the present and future educational landscape. Its trend is the school and curriculum reform, global education, collaboration, convergence, standards, and competencies.
Now let's move on to the great contributions of historical foundations of curriculum. First, we have Franklin Balbay. In the year 1876 to 1956, started the curriculum development movement. So curriculum as a science that emphasizes students' needs, and curriculum prepares learners for adult life. And the objectives and activities should group together when tasks are clarified. Second, we have Warwick Charters in the year 1875 to 1952. He posited that curriculum is science and emphasizes students' needs. The objectives and activities should match, and the subject matter or content relates to objectives. Third, we have William Kilpatrick in the year 1875 to 1952. The circular are purposeful activities which are child-centered. The purpose of the curriculum is child development and growth. He introduced this project method where teacher and student plan the activities, and the curriculum develops social relationships, small group instruction. Fourth, we have Harold Brock. In the year 1886 to 1960, the curriculum should develop the whole child. It is child-centered, with a statement of objectives and related learning activities. The curriculum should produce outcomes, and emphasizes social studies and suggested that the teacher plans curriculum in advance. Fifth, we have Hollis Caswell in the year 1901 to 1989. The curriculum is is organized around social functions of themes, organized knowledge learners' interests, and the curriculum, instruction, and learning are interrelated. The curriculum is a set of experiences. The subject matter is developed around social functions and learners' interests. Sixth, we have Ralph Tyler in the year 1902 to 1994. The curriculum is a science and an extension of school's philosophy. It is based on students' need and interest. The curriculum is always related to instruction, and the subject matter is organized in terms of knowledge, skills, and values. And the processes emphasizes problem solving, and lastly, the curriculum aims to educate generalists, not specialists. Seven, we have Helda Taba in 1902 to 1967. It contributed to the theoretical and pedagogical foundations of concepts development that a critical thinking in social studies curriculum helped the foundation for diverse student population. And lastly, we have Peter Oliva in the year 1992 to 2012. It described the curriculum change as a cooperative endeavor. Teacher and curriculum specialists constitute the professional core of planners. The significant improvement is achieved through group activity. Now let's move on to the psychological foundation of curriculum. For the association and behaviorism, we have Ivan Pavlov, the Edward Thorndike, and the Robert Gagne. So first, the Ivan Pavlov in 1849 to 1936, he is the father of the classical conditioning theory, the SR theory. So it is the key to learning in the early years of life is to train them what you want them to become. The SR theory is a foundation of learning practice called indoctrination. Second is Edward Thorndike in the year 1874 to 1949. He championed the connectionism theory and also proposed the three laws of learning. It includes the law of readiness, the law of exercise, and the law of effect. A specific stimulus has specific response. Lastly, we have Robert Gagne in 1916 to 2002. He proposed a hierarchical learning theory. It is a learning that follows hierarchy, and the behavior is based on prerequisite condition and introduces tasking in the formulation of objectives. Now for the cognitive information processing theory, we have Jean Piaget, Levi Vygotsky, Howard Gardner, and Daniel Goleman. So Jean Piaget in the year 1896 to 1980, according to him, cognitive development has stages from birth to maturity. So for the sensory motor stage, it is from ages 0 to 2, the pre-operational stage from 2 to 7, the concrete operation stage from 7 to 11 years old, and the formal operations 11 years onwards. So the assimilation is incorporation of new experience. The accommodation is learning modification and adaptation. And the equilibration is balance between previous and later learning. Second, is Levi Vygotsky in the year 1896 to 1934. So according to him, cultural transmission and development stage, the children could, as a result of their interaction with society, actually perform certain cognitive actions prior to arriving at developmental stage. The learning precedes development. The socio-cultural development theory, the pedagogy creates learning processes that lead to development, and the child is an active agent in his or her educational purposes. Next is Howard Gardner. So Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences, according to him, humans have several different ways of processing information, and these ways are relatively independent of one another. So there are 8 intelligences. So these are the linguistic, the logical, mathematical, the musical, the spatial, the bodily, or kinesthetic, the interpersonal, and naturalistic. And lastly, we have Daniel Goleman. So according to him, emotion can contain the power to affect action called this emotional quotient.
Let us now go to the last psychological foundation of curriculum. It is the humanistic psychology. Let's talk about the Gestalt theory. In this theory, learning is explained in terms of wholeness of the problem. Human beings do not respond to isolated stimuli, but to an organization or pattern of stimuli, learning complex and abstract. In this theory, learners analyze the problem, discriminate between essential and non-essential data, and perceive relationships. In this theory, learners will perceive something in relation to the whole. The what or how they perceive is related to their previous experiences. Next is the Abraham Maslow in the year 1908 to 1917. It is called the the self-actualization theory. In this theory, classical theory of human needs, a child whose basic needs are not met will not be interested in acquiring knowledge of the world. Next is put importance to human emotions based on love and trust. Produce a healthy and happy learner who can accomplish, grow, and actualize his or her human self. The last one is Carl Rogers in the year 1902 to 1987. Non-directive or the therapeutical learning. In this learning, established counseling procedures and methods for facilitating learning. Children's perceptions, which are highly individualistic, influence their learning and behavior in class. Curriculum is concerned with process, not product. Personal needs, not subject matter. Psychological meaning, not cognitive process. Now let's go down to the last topic of curriculum essentials, which is the social foundation of curriculum. Let's discuss first the Emily Durkheim in the year 1858 to 1917. According to Emily, influence of society and social context in education. Things that surround individuals can change and develop their behavior. Emily considered two fundamental elements, which are the schools and the civil society. The next one is Alvin Toffler. Alvin Toffler is the one who wrote the book entitled Future Shock. He believed that knowledge should prepare students for the future. He suggested that in the future, parents might have the resources to teach prescribed curriculum from home as a result of technology, not in spite of it, called homeschooling. He foresaw schools and students work creatively, collaboratively, and independent of their age. The last topic is the other theorists. We have here Paulo Freire, John Goodlad, and Willem Pilar. Let's talk about first Paulo Freire in the year 1021 to 1997. According to him, education is a means of shaping the person and society through critical reflections and conscientization. Teachers use questioning and problem-posing approach to reach students' consciousness. He emphasizes on questioning, problem-posing, and critical thinking. His major book is The Pedagogy of the Oppressed in the year 1968. The last one is John Goodlad in the year 1920 to 2014. According to him, curriculum organized around needs of society and students. Reduce students' comfort in classroom, constant need for school improvement. He emphasizes on active learning and critical thinking. Involvement of students in planning curriculum, content, and instructional activities. According to him, we need to align content with the standards. His major books are A Place Called Schools in the year 1984 and What Are Schools For in the year 1989. The last but not the least is William Pilar in the year 1947. He broadened the conception of the curriculum to enrich the practice, understand the nature of the educational experience. Curriculum studied from a historical, racial, gendered, phenomenological, postmodern, theological, and international perspectives. And the last one its curriculum involves multiple disciplines. And that would be all for the curriculum essentials. Thank you.